What is going on, guys? The Inside the Blue Podcast, episode 78. And today we're breaking down the Giants' loss to the Rams today. A very unfortunate loss at the end. Mason Crosby cannot get the field goal to go. And it's very annoying losing a game like that. But in the end, it's not the end of the world because the Giants are not making the playoffs. And how many more moral victories do we really need for this team? But I think, speaking of moral victories, I will say I did like a lot from this game. I think they played very well for, the team that they have. This is a Rams team that is projected to make the playoffs, and, they are a solid football team. Matt Stafford's a good QB. Puka Nacua is an underrated player, and I think he's getting a lot of love from the NFL right now. They even have Cooper Kupp, of course, so he's another good weapon. They got Kyren Williams, who had 3 touchdowns in that game. Giants' run defense needs to be fixed this offseason. That is definitely one of the main targets in the draft and in free agency. It's if you don't have Dexter Lawrence and A'Shawn Robinson, that line will get beat up. And Dexter Lawrence, he doesn't play every single snap, right? The only Giants players to play 100% of the snaps this season has been Bobby Okereke and Xavier McKinney. So, props to those two guys staying healthy, having a really solid season for both of them. But, this Giants team, of course, another loss, 5-11 on the year. Right now, they have the 5th overall pick in the NFL draft. And, if you're a Giants fan, if you're a team that's not making the playoffs, that's really the one thing that you're looking forward to in, this NFL season. You kind of just want it to end. The Giants only have one more game to play, and then their season is over. That final game is, of course, against the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll get into that game a little further in the video, but yeah, 5th overall pick. We know the Giants' needs. It is the offensive line is probably their main target in this draft. I think it's most certainly something that they're going to take highly. I think that's really going to be the pick. I know there's a lot of, maybe they take Jaden Daniels out of LSU. Maybe they, fresh start at QB. Maybe they go with a guy like Malik Neighbors, a wide receiver who had a very strong year out of LSU. Or they just go with the offensive line route, whether it's Joe Alt from Notre Dame or Vashanu from Penn State. They have a lot of options at 5. There's really no wrong answer here, but if you're looking at the most value of what you really want, it's probably one of those two offensive linemen, whether it's Alt or Vashanu. In my opinion, they're kind of just 1A and 1B. Maybe you take Joe Alt just because Notre Dame is notorious for really developing offensive linemen. I'm not going to be mad if they take Vashanu over Alt over Vashanu. But I will say, if they do end up going maybe the QB route, it's going to raise a lot of eyebrows for Giants fans because then it's a big question with Daniel Jones. Is this really it for Daniel Jones? Do they really, feel this isn't the guy? But I'll say this for the Giants. I want the Giants to go into next season with a quarterback that they are confident in and not have any, setbacks, right? I don't want them having any questions. Is this really our guy? I want them to be locked in on a quarterback that they'll, be excited for the next, 4 or 5 years. That's what I want from this New York Giants team. I don't want them, having all these questions, with Daniel Jones or what is it with Tommy DeVito. I don't want those questions. I want a quarterback that they're set in stone with and they have no issues and they'll roll him out every single game. And that's the guy that they'll have the most confidence in of winning any football game. That's just what I want from this team. I don't want them, no questions. Get a QB and fix this offense, right? I do believe in Brian Dable. I believe in, Mike Kafka. I know he's had a lot of criticism this year. I've definitely given not Brian, but I have given Brian Dable some criticism and Mike Kafka because some of the play calls that they've ran have not been the greatest. But if you're gonna blame Mike Kafka for this offense, why are we not blaming? Why are we just not talking about Brian Dable. Brian Dable, this is his offense. Mike Kafka really just picks the plays. So, I mean, if you're going to blame Mike Kafka, you're going to have to blame Brian Dable. And, another thing is not Brian Kafka, is Mike Kafka going to be back next year? I think he is. I don't really see them firing, and if they're going to fire him, I think they should really have a guy ready. Not just going out and going for a search, right? I want them to just get an offense coordinator that, can be relied on in the big moments. But, it is what it is. Tyrod Taylor did play a pretty good game against the Los Angeles Rams. Had a bit of a miscue with Saquon Barkley at the end with that 2-point conversion. That was just awful. I don't understand how you missed that throw. There wasn't a guy right up your ass where it was like, oh, I have to get this out quickly. It was a simple 3, 4, maybe, like a 4-yard, quick toss. And he was doing it already. He threw it behind him. He threw it behind, I think it was Jalen Hyatt earlier, or it was someone. But, I think the thing is with this Giants quarterback situation is, if Tyrod Taylor in this offense, in this offensive line, and the weapons he have can throw for this many yards, there is no excuse that Daniel Jones cannot do this and Tommy DeVito. Now, I was on the opposite. I thought Tommy DeVito should have started the rest of the season, but I guess this is just how Tyrod Taylor is just going to go out, and that's probably going to be his career. He's probably going to end the season, probably retire, because he's 35, and I don't see him really getting an NFL job anywhere else. But, yeah, I mean, I'm excited for this future. I really am. I think this team has a bright future under Brian Dable and Joe Schoen. I think this is the perfect coach you can have. I don't know if you really can get a better coach out there right now. I defend Brian Dable. I will admit he's a good coach, and if you can get the right pieces around him quickly, this offense could be a lot better next year. All right? I mean, I know last year they had a good offense, but they didn't play the greatest opponents in terms of win percentage and all that, but they don't create their schedule. So that's one thing. But anyways, with this Giants team, this was a winnable game. I said it on previous pods. They were able to beat the Rams. They were able to beat the Saints. They played awful against the Saints. They played much better at home against the LA Rams. They also made Matt Stafford turn the ball over a few times. 2 interceptions from Dane Belton after he replaced Jason Pinnock. That was really good to see. I feel like Dane Belton is just a turnover merchant. Like, this guy really turns, is able to get the ball back in the Giants' hands. And also Adoree Jackson with the forced fumble. But Adoree Jackson, I don't know if he's playing hurt or whatever, but he was avoiding contact, avoiding tackles. He even allowed Puka Nacua to have an 80-yard game, which they ended up scoring. And that was one of the many touchdowns from Kyren Williams. He's had a really good year, Kyren Williams. Puka Nacua has had a really good year. And it's crazy because this is a Rams team that traded a bunch of their first-round picks. And they find these guys in the later rounds. Puka Nacua, 5th-round pick. I think Kyren Williams was like a 3rd-round pick. And some guys for the defense. Giants allowed a few sacks. That's normal. Giants just love, handing out sacks to everybody. Giving sacks to Aaron Donald and a bunch of other players. But there should be no reason that the offensive line is not better next year and the offense is better, because there's a lot of free agents out there for the offensive line. This offensive line draft it's pretty deep, in my opinion. A lot of guys, if they really don't want to go Joe Alt or Fashanu and want to go with the QB like Jaden Daniels or a guy like Malik Neighbors. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot is happening, right? There's the bowl games right now to get a really good look. Michael Penix Jr. has looked outstanding. I know it's only one game, but this guy has already proved that he is more than capable of being an NFL QB and could really scare some NFL defenses in the future. I don't know if he's going to be a first-round pick, but would not be surprised if a team tries to tries to take a chance on him. I know he has had some injuries before, and that's my only question. I mean, in our previous mock draft, we took him. We also took his buddy Jalen Polk. He had a solid game. Dunze had a really good game for Washington. It's going to be an interesting bowl game, too. I mean, Michigan defeating Alabama in that crazy game, and Washington defeating Texas. Listen, I'm excited for this draft because there's so much opportunity in this draft, and to make the rebuild, even faster. I know they won a playoff game last year. They made the playoffs, all that, but I mean, is Daniel Jones gonna be better next year? Is the offensive line gonna not allow 80 sacks next year? And also, I mean, who are they gonna re-sign and who are they not gonna re-sign? A lot of free agents for the Giants. I mean, if I had to come off a few guys off the names, which that I want to have back, I definitely want Saquon Barkley to be back. I mean, you can definitely draft a running back, but I mean, Saquon is the heart and soul of this offense. When he's out, it's hard to, really create plays. He's a really good player. I want Isaiah Simmons back as well. I think he's a really fast and just a really good player, and you only got him for a 7th-round pick. I would like A'Shawn Robinson back. I think he's a good run stopper, definitely. I definitely look at guys like Byron Murphy and T'Vondre Sweat for run stoppers in this draft. Those two guys from Texas, really solid. If you want to look at QB, maybe Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix Jr., Bo Nix. Those guys come to name. If you're looking at wide receiver, I think Jalen Polk is a sneaky good wide receiver. Maybe Keelan Coleman. If you really want to go with the deep shot, maybe Malik Neighbors. I don't see them drafting him. I see him go to a different team. But there's a lot of options that the Giants can go this route, and I don't know how mad I would be if the Giants just didn't take offensive line, because there are many ways that they can fix this offensive line, and it doesn't have to be through the draft, right? They saw what happened with Evan Neal. That stunk. I hope it doesn't happen to anyone else. I hope Evan Neal, has a better year next year. Maybe they move him to guard, maybe right guard, maybe left guard, because I doubt Justin Pugh, Mark Kalinsky, Tyree Phillips are going to be starters next year. And that's what you got to build on. Those are the spots you got to build on. What is it with Darren Waller? Is he going to be healthy next year? Is he going to have a good year next year? What is it with, the wide receivers? Are they going to re-sign Darius Slayton? Are they going to not? Except I think he's on a 2-year deal, actually. I think he's got 1 year left, so don't worry about him yet. But I don't think Sterling Shepard's going to be back. I don't know if Paris Campbell is going to be back. I think Xavier McKinney definitely should be back. I think he's a really good player. He's played all the snaps this year, knows the defense well, but a lot goes into this, and I'm excited. I'm excited for the off season, even though I wish we were able to make the playoffs 2 years in a row. Hasn't happened in so long. I'm confident in this staff. I'm confident in the players that they'll be better next year. But hey, I mean, I'm definitely gonna make an Outlook post video for that for sure. Got the Eagles next week. Now it's gonna be a good one after what happened last time with the refs and all that. But let's beat them. All right. I know everybody's wanting to lose, but I want to beat these Eagles, man. I really do think this team has been struggling. This Eagles squad. I don't even know if Nick Sirianni has the locker room anymore. I've heard from some Eagles fans that it's not looking good. And as much as they are I think they're 11-4 team, something like that, 11-5. It's rough. It's a rough 11-4, 11-5 team, and that's just something that you don't normally see in the NFL. Usually, you see teams that are 11-5. They are a good, disciplined, well-coached team, but you see it with AJ Brown. He's pissed off with Nick Sirianni. Devontae Smith looks to be injured. He was in a boot after that. And their offensive coordinator, it's bad. All right, you want to blame Mike Kafka for, bad play calls? Look at this Eagles offensive coordinator. This guy is bad. And I mean, it's tough. It's tough, man. It sucks. But these Eagles, I don't know how far they're going to go in the playoffs. I'm worried for them. Quite honestly, if they, run into a Niners team, they might get smacked. If they run into Dallas, they might get smacked. Honestly, maybe even the Lions could beat them. Watch out for those Detroit Lions as well. I'll definitely have a playoff prediction video for sure. And I've got some high hopes for some teams, and some teams I'm very low on. But, anyways, guys, it's been the Inside the Boot podcast. We are almost at 80 subscribers, one away from 80 subscribers, and we are on the road to 100 subscribers, of course. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, follow us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok, follow us on Twitter, and let's go Giants, baby. Peace. Recapping the early Yankees, Giants, all those guys, all those teams. Let's keep winning hockey. Let's beat the Hurricanes tonight, and let's just keep rolling, baby. Let's go Rangers. See you guys in the next one.